Hello guys, hi, I'm Sasikumar and one second. Hello guys, I'm Sasikumar and this is day 44 of improving my communication skills and I was a little bit busy due to our meeting that was in director conference hall that is about idea trap that is one kind of idea pitching event. So I was busy on that. That's why I was not able to cover my syllabus. I was not able to read. Means I was not able to complete our gate syllabus that we have targeted for today. But okay, it's fine. We are going to start to read. Big fan, sir. Who is there, sir? Oh, we are going to start the book, The Art of Explanation by Ross Atkins. Thanks, Jaris169. I know who you are. Okay, let's start once again. Explanation. 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 Okay. Thank you, Varshil. Okay. Uh, uh, as we have an introduction part of the this book, so we are going to complete introduction part today. After that, we will move towards chapter number one. So we will gain some knowledge how to convince people, how to explain our thoughts to audience. It will take time. Okay. Discovering the power of explanation. My system of explanation wasn't something I worked up out of curiosity. It was born out of necessity. It was my effort to find a way out of several situations that felt, for a time, overwhelming. Back in the 1990s, 2 years after I had graduated, I was unemployed, living in Cambridge and doing a far better job of watching the Jerry Springer show than I was of finding work. I was low on confidence, low on cash, and low on ideas for what to do about it. I did, though, have one trump card to play. After college, I had gone to live in South Africa with my then girlfriend. This was a time when Nelson Mandela was president, when the post apartheid apartheid possibilities were still in the first flush of being explored, and when crime was on everyone's mind. I landed a gig as a policy researcher, and each day during my drive from the suburbs to our offices downtown, I had have the coin ready to buy on the daily newspaper offered by the hawkers at the traffic light. As soon as I was in, I had lay a newspaper out of my desk and read it front of two back. Carjackings plus police reform South Africa making the 1998 Football World Cup, the British Lions rugby team paying a visit, the rise of Kawetu, think house music but slower, Mandela at the helm. I had always wanted to be journalist and South Africa had so many stories to tell. At the weekend, I got into the routine of wandering down the road buying the Sunday Independent. At the time, it was owned by the same company that owned the independent titles in the UK. As someone who, as a teenager, had feasted on columns by William Leith and Joy Heller, and who had cut out photos from Independent on Sunday for my bedroom wall, I was instantly drawn to its South African it iteration. The editor of the Sunday Independent was Johnny Battersby, sitting behind a big desk. He had the demeanor of a man who had seen a lot of stories and was still very interested in the next one. To my surprise, he had run an opinion piece of mine about policing, and a few months later, I called to ask if I could come and help with the paper and weekends. John generously agreed, and for a few months, as my relationship and my visa both ran on whatever needed to be done. I also DJed quite a lot then and so. For a short while, I would be a journalist until 10 p.m. before driving to the club where I played each week. It's a combination I have never quite managed to watch since. This setup lasted for a while, and when my time came to move back the UK, John kindly wrote me a reference to take with me. This was my trump card. The letter was addressed to the colleagues at the Independent in London. In the summer of 1998, I sent it off. A few days later, I got a call asking me to come in. This was a gold-plated chance at a time when I was failing to generate any others. In the days running up to the meeting, I read any number of articles while listening to hours of radio's Fab Lab. I had done my homework on the news. I was far less certain of what to wear, and so decayed out in a smart casual outfit that accurately told the story of a young man unsure of what was required of him. I borrowed the train south. At the time, the Independent was based in Canary Wharf in London. I took the lift up and was ushered into a corner office with a view matching the scenery of the people there. So what do you want to do for us? The man sitting behind the desk asked. That I cannot that I cannot tell you precisely who this person was in a measure of how much I have come to want to forget those few minutes. I know I spoke because I can recall doing so, but what I offered was a distress melange of poorly defined hope and observation. I know I spoke because I can recall doing so, but what I offered was a disor- disastrous melange of poorly defined hopes and observations. I had no idea what I needed to say, why I was saying it, how I was going to say it, who I was saying it, or what I wanted for them in response. My strongest memory of the day is the feeling of my chance slipping away, not at the end of the conversation, but right when in the middle of the first answer. I can feel it now as I write. As I talked, I realized I wasn't explaining myself and that it would cost me. It did. The energy went out of the meeting within minutes, and before long I was back in the lift. They were kind enough to not write me off there and then, but I never got to work for a paper that I admire. This stung badly. Instead of working in Canary Wharf, I took a part-time job in a shop selling coffee and coffee machines. For several months, my lab was a mix of measuring bags of Colombian beans, daytime, daytime TV, some dazings, and the occasional game of squash. There was no shortage of time to reflect on why I was struggling to get going. The failed The flat in Cambridge that I shared with my mate Ollie was only a few hundred meters from the college where I had studied history. And as I considered my failure to make the opportunity at the independent count, it was to my experience as a student that I turned for a better way to prepare for those moments and more broadly, or how to plot a way out of the rut that I was in. The method of teaching history at Cambridge in the 90s was un- uncomplicated. Uncomplicated was the method of teaching history at the Cambridge in the 90s was as uncomplicated as it was brushing. Each week you had be given an essay question on subject you either knew nothing or very little about. With the question would come a reading list of anywhere between 10 and 30 books, and I see you next week. There were lectures, but in an act of academic purity. They were often on subjects that had little to do with the easy we were being said. It really was just about you, the question, and the reading list, with the added incentive that in a week's time you had need to hand over a few thousand words and then spend an hour discussing the subject with an academic who had made it their lab's work. This seemed to me to be entirely unrealistic without a plan. I don't mean an easy plan, though I would need one of those too. No, this required a plan or collecting, processing, and then reshaping this new and plentiful information into a form I could confidently use both to explain the subject and to form arguments around it. Maybe others could just read the books, take some notes, and identify the issues. I thought I though needed more than that, and in those first intimidating weeks of my first year at university I started to experiment with the what might work. The system I came up with is still largely the one I use today. What I didn't see at the time was that something that helped me explain and analyze 19th century socialism or gender, body and food in late European medieval European mysticism. It was nothing in it was nothing if not a varied course. Could also help me in many years of my life, not least in selling myself when I needed to most. By 2001, I had escaped the clutches of Jerry Springer and landed a couple of decent jobs editing website, but the dot-com bubble would soon burst, and I was made redundant, redundant. The summer wow. Uh, Thank you, Gatik Sen. Thank you, Gatik Sen. I can the summer of unemployment. Scored each Monday's media guardians for the latest job ads as I become increasingly desperate for something to come up. I can remember seeing the listening for a producer on Radio Fab Live like it was a study. I had a pit in my stomach as I thought about how much I wanted this job. I was an avid Fab Lab listener, and if could have picked anywhere to be journalist, it would have been there. I can also remember the room of the interview just as clearly as I can recall how it felt to be in there. I had learned my lessons from my tips to the independent, but this time I had realized that the system that had helped me navigating universities could help me navigate the most important interview of my life. Afterward, I was sure as I could be that I had got it. I knew I had managed to clearly one second. Okay. Managed to clearly and precisely explain what I wanted to say. I had also successfully managed to both answer the question I had been asked, and in doing so, upload a lot of pre-prepared information. Explanation helped me get into the BBC and over 20 years on it. It's now the foundation of the journalism I do there and of the opportunities I have been able to create. The system I come up with at university helped me navigate my degree. It helped me get a job and I loved, and then helped me to do that job. It helps me many ways outside of the newsrooms too. I recently ended up in the hospital for 5 days. I will spare you the whole story, but I saw various heart specialists, and for a little while it was worrying. Because of COVID 19, there were no visitors, and so in between having a raft of tests and doing a decent amount of pretending, pretending I was having to manage all the meetings with doctors. They had often happened at short notice, and when I was told one was imminent, I had grabbed I have grabbed my pen and pad, pulled over the table to the bed, and quickly worked through the same explanation process I use at work. I helped me organize that I wanted to say, what I wanted to ask, and what I wanted to ask for. If it was particularly helped to do this when I was far from my best. I have used the same approach repeatedly when going back to the hospital for follow-up appointments. That's one example. I could give you so many more. I used the same system of explanation to prepare to talk to my literary agent, Will Francis. When I wanted to see if I had taken me on, I used it before we talked of wildfire, who have published this book. I am using it right now as I write this. I use it all the time. My work on this system began as an inexperienced teenager from the Cornwall sitting in a Cambridge wondering how on earth to tackle my first essay. It's involved into something multi-purpose, something that I use every day. My hope is that it will be of use to you too. My hope is that it will be of use to you too. Okay. The centrality of explanation. Okay. For today, that is enough. Okay. Next day, we will continue from here. One thing from today onwards, we are going to do. 1 second. Mm, hmm. See, this is my Google Swags. I have shown many times. Oh, I haven't uploaded any videos of this. This is my Google Swags that I have earned from Google Arcade program. So let's see what's the things in that. First, this is backpack Google Swags. Okay, let's see. First thing, what is inside this bag? Mm. But first thing, that is a skill boost arcade Google Cloud. If it's visual, let's make another video so that it will be. Just okay, guys. In just other lab videos, we are going to unbox our Google Specs.